90,660, 3,400, 1,400, 192, 284, 9,880, 16,180, 523, 4,221, 335, 1,090, 90%, 42,210, 1,244, 3,23,480. Confused? Looks like some new language that I've invented? Well, actually not so. This was GGIS in numbers, the year that we spent this year in different numbers. Many of you have seen the year every day through your mails, but the year has had much more. And now let me talk about each one of them in a little more elaborate manner. 90,660. 90,660 student hours spent at GGIS learning, acquiring new skills, building bonds of lifelong friendship. What they did in that year, they've already shared with you through their Yearly Yatra, what they did academically and all. Today, however, here, I will share with you the secret ingredients that we have which make GGIS what it is. Today, we will be talking about why our students love coming to school and they don't want vacations. Today, we start with what GGIS is other than the academics. 3,400 student hours online. GGIS is a digitally advanced school. We use technology to enhance our knowledge frontiers. We use it to know what else is possible. We are schooled not for yesterday, we are schooled for tomorrow. And our students know that new tools exist and we know how to use them. We surf the wide world of web in order to code, research, find out more, and to present our learning. At GGIS, learning digitally is all about finding out what else is possible. It is not about learning dates and numbers. It is about what else can be. 1,400 student hours of Maker's Lab. Maker's Lab. It is a pioneer concept in a primary school and it is one of my favorite spaces in the school. Maker's Lab is multifaceted. Maker's Lab inspires students to look at an object and think what it can be rather than what it is. Our curriculum many a times does not provide us with that freedom. We after all cannot ask our students what 2 plus 2 can be. It has to be. But at Maker's Lab, it can be. Imagination and problem solving come to the fore at Maker's Lab. And cradles and kaleidoscopes are made from broken toys and PVC pipes and all that. And it's a fun place to be at. Learning and building are limitless. And the freedom to fail, the freedom to experiment is something that they deserve. And they get it in ample at Maker's Lab. And Lopa ma'am, your bhavishyavani comes true. 192 student hours of design thinking. Interreact, a program that was an after-school program for select students, it came into being and it gave our students an insight into design thinking. Design thinking basically is a framework that helps our student imagine a new solution, imagine a product, or come out with a solution. Their visits to CEPT and NID inspired them to know more, to find out, to learn from the best in the industry. The knowledge instilled through Interreact is far more beautiful than the installation that they've created. And if you don't trust me, ask RJ Dwanil. He was simply bowled over by the presentation that our students had to make on that day. Here are a few pictures of that. Next, 284 student hours of public interaction. On an average, a teacher asks about 200 to 300 questions in a day, while a student only asks about 2 questions a day. That is in a normal school, not at GGIS. At GGIS, we encourage our students to ask, to explore, to communicate, and to do it multiple times through events like Weekend Window, Premier Schools, and that big kabila that we used to take off Maker's Lab to various housing colonies. Our students have learned to express their viewpoints. They have learned how to communicate. They are not baffled when they encounter a stranger. They are far more confident in their thoughts and in their communication. Sports. 9,880 student hours of sports. Health is wealth, a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. All of us grew up with those adages. But very often in a conventional school, sports is compromised. It is because we have other important things to do like exams. However, at GGIS, sports sessions are sacred. They are not checked off for those important things. We don't give them up. On the contrary, we push our students to their limits. We ask them to move ahead and find out what else is possible. They fail. We let them fail. We stand there steadfastly. And we stand there in their achievements and in their heartbreaks. We let them realize how to fall and how to rise. This year itself, our school organized 2 inter-school events, Kabaddi Premier League and athletics meet. With grade 3 and 4 as our senior most students, and that to a handful of students, it was an achievement in itself. Our students sure did put up a great show, and I'm sure you'd agree. Now, 16,180 student hours of recess. Some of you might wonder, why am I even talking about recess? That is not when teaching and learning happens. That is not something that a school would come. Recess is what is the space between learning, is what we've been made to understand. We couldn't be more farther off from truth. Recess is the time when children learn to play without adult intervention. That is the time when they form their own rules. They learn to negotiate. They learn to play on their own and to find out who's right, who's wrong. Unstructured play is extremely important, and it has humongous benefits for children as they grow up. That is why our recesses are long. We don't give a recess just for enough time to eat. Our recess provides ample time to play, and that is important because play at GGIS is serious business. Well, enough about students. What about teachers? What do we do? 523 additional hours as teachers. So out of the hours that students spend at school, over the year, we as teachers, we spend 523 additional hours in the year. That comes out to be approximately 74 extra working days. And that is the reason why our students do what they do in school. We as teachers, we put in a lot of effort, zeal for the next day. We make sure that we plan, we execute, and we understand what our students need, how the next day unfolds for our students is important for us. We don't just reflect upon our practices, we sleep with their problems and we come back the next day more prepared. This year itself, our teachers created more than 4,221 lesson plans and just about as many reflections were written for the same. So can we please clap for our teachers? But teachers, however, also have their limits of how much they can learn from their own experience. And that is why we need a lot of training and learning. We go out and actively seek professional development. We spent hundreds of hours this year learning math from Radha ma'am, learning various things from Skill Fest, different areas. We visited a lot of schools, American School of Bombay, GGIS, and we also met Mr. Sugata Mitra, and that was the icing on the cake. So that was great. Thank you. And now about parents. You are the most valuable partner in the schooling life of your children. Thank you for being who you are. You have always responded with great enthusiasm for anything and everything we've called for. Whether it is parent intervention, whether it is Garba, whether it is the fitness sessions for mommies, whether it is about learning dialogues for Mugli and Get and late night calls saying that, can we please make sure that your child learns this? And that has always been done. And this year we spent 1,090 hours of parent interaction. This is beyond the email and the synopsis that we keep sending just about every day. So I think we would be one of the most over-communicative schools that exist around. But what does this tell us about our school? How do you perceive our school? That is what we learned through the parent observation. Above 90% parents say yes to their child's progress. They all are convinced that what the children learn here is of prime importance. Thank you. Thank you so much for having that faith in us. You, as a parent, are an outlier. You have chosen to school your child not for marks. You have not put him in the rat race. You have not decided to cast a mold on him. Rather, you've entrusted the child to us, and you help us carve the best out of him. Thank you. And transportation, one of our prickly issues. This year, we completed 42,210 kilometers of transportation. That is more than the circumference of the earth. So we have kind of circled the earth. So pardon us if you faced some problem, maybe somewhere near Africa, we could have had some hiccups, so we're sorry for that. But that transportation, there's a very interesting facet to it. This year, we spent 1,244 kilometers in field trips. The transportation manager that we have, he works with 15 different schools, top schools of Ahmedabad. And he was baffled by this because most schools do not have more than 200 to 300 kilometers on an average of field trips a year. The second one that comes, we top the list for sure, but the second one that comes in is also at about 500 or 600 kilometers. What does this tell us? It tells us that our learning is not confined to our classrooms. We move beyond, we go out and we have the students experience what is it to learn there. So, a clap for the transportation team. Thank you. And GGIS campus, one of the most beautiful spaces we have. 3,23,480 square feet of green space. With urbanization comes vertical living. Our views and our living spaces are confined. We do not have the our children do not have access to the kind of open spaces that we had once upon a time. And this means that our children do not run as often. But with a campus like GGIS, they run, they fall, they rise, and they repeat it again and again and again. Open spaces and green spaces don't just have an effect on their physical self, it also calms and soothes their mental self. If you don't trust me, try writing a creative essay when there are cars honking around you. You will realize how much a campus has to offer. So that was for our cars. That was for our campus. However, what happened in this year can never be summed up in a 5 or 10 minute speech. It is much more and beyond that. Our children this year learned to move forward. They learned to live. They learned how to be alive. They lived without being anesthetized. For GGIS is a school where children are handmade. They are not factory made. Thank you.